The frontier has a strange way of bringing people together. It doesn't matter who you are, what color your skin is, or where you were born. Out here, survival ties lives together in ways no one sees coming. And the story you're about to hear, well, it's one of those tales that the desert wind still whispers about. This is Frontier Echoes, and today's story starts with a cowboy, a lonely cabin, and a little Apache girl who walked into his life like a spark in dry grass, changing everything. My name is Luke Carter, and I wasn't much more than a drifter in those days. A man looking for peace after too many years riding behind a badge. My cabin stood at the edge of the San Pedro Valley, quiet, isolated, and perfect for a man who didn't want company. At least, that's what I thought. One morning near dusk, just as the sun dipped behind the rocky mesas, I heard a sound outside the cabin. It wasn't the wind, and it wasn't an animal. It was soft, shaky, like someone trying not to cry. I stepped out with my rifle, ready for whatever trouble was waiting. But what I found wasn't trouble. It was a little Apache girl, no older than 8 or 9, wearing a torn deerskin dress. Dust clung to her like she'd been running for miles. Her long black hair was tangled, and her bare feet were bleeding. But what struck me most were her eyes, wide, scared, but burning with the kind of courage only someone who's lost too much has. She didn't speak English, not more than a few broken words. She just looked up at me and whispered, "Help." That was all. I lowered my rifle slowly. "Easy now, little one. You hurt?" She nodded and pointed behind her, toward the darkening valley. "White men," she said. "Bad." I didn't know who she was, why she was alone, or what kind of men were chasing her. But I knew what fear looked like. And I wasn't about to leave a child out there alone. "All right," I said softly. "Come inside." She hesitated only a second before following me in. I gave her water, cleaned the cuts on her feet, and wrapped her in a blanket. She watched every move I made, unsure if I was friend or foe. "Do you have a name?" I asked. She pointed at herself. "Nia." I smiled gently. "Nia, you're safe now." She didn't smile back. But her breathing eased, just a little. That night, she fell asleep on my bed while I sat near the fire, keeping watch. The frontier could be cruel, especially to the young. And something told me whoever she was running from wouldn't stop easily. I was right. At dawn, I went outside to check the horse when I noticed tracks in the dirt, 3 sets of boot prints, heavy, fast-moving. Someone had come close during the night. Too close. I tightened my jaw. Whoever they were hunting her. When I went back inside, Nia was awake, clutching the blanket around her shoulders. "They come back?" she asked in broken English. "Maybe," I said honestly. "But they won't get you. Not while you're here." For the first time, she looked at me with something like trust. Maybe that was my first mistake. Or maybe it was the beginning of something neither of us expected. 2 days passed with no sign of trouble. Nia stayed close to me, watching everything I did. She mimicked how I chopped wood, how I tied rope, how I fed the horse. She barely spoke, but when she did, her words were careful, thoughtful. She wasn't just a child surviving. She was learning me. On the 3rd morning, while I was repairing the fence, Nia stood suddenly straighter and whispered, "Mother." I froze and looked toward the tree line. A woman stepped out from the shadows like the forest itself had breathed her into existence. She was Apache, beautiful, fierce, and proud. Long, braided hair hung over her shoulders, decorated with turquoise beads. Her eyes were dark and sharp, scanning me with a warrior's caution but a mother's desperation. Nia ran to her instantly, throwing her arms around her waist. The woman held her tight, pressing her cheek to her daughter's head with a trembling sigh. Then her eyes lifted to me. "You took her in," she said in clear, accented English. "I did," I answered. You fed her. Protected her. It was the right thing. She studied me quietly for a long moment. Then she said, "My name is Ayana." A name fitting for her, eternal blossom. "Nia is all I have," she continued. Men tried to take her. I searched for her for days. I feared, her voice cracked, just slightly. I feared the worst. "She's safe now," I said. Ayana nodded. "Because of you." Something passed between us, a silent understanding. But there was more behind her eyes. Strength. Pain. Love. And a loneliness that matched my own. I expected her to take Nia and leave. That's what made sense. But instead, when dusk came, she asked quietly, "May we stay?" "Just one night." "Nia is tired." "I am tired." "Of course," I said. That night felt different. The cabin wasn't just a shelter, it was alive. Nia curled up near the fire, while Ayana sat across from me, hands wrapped around a wooden cup of warm tea I'd made. She watched me with a calm intensity, like she was trying to understand the man who had kept her child alive. "You live alone," she observed. "I do." "No wife?" "No." "No children?" I shook my head. "Never had the chance." Her eyes softened. "You care for Nia more gently than many fathers I have known." I shrugged. "She needed help. And you gave it," she said. Without asking anything in return. I didn't answer. But she smiled faintly, as if she'd already read the truth in me. Later, as the fire faded low, she stood and walked to me slowly. "You helped my daughter," she said softly. "I owe you a debt." "You don't owe me anything," I said quickly. She tilted her head, a hint of challenge in her expression. "Apache do not forget kindness." "It wasn't kindness," I replied. "It was human decency." She stepped closer, eyes searching mine. "You are a good man, Luke Carter." My heart stuttered. It had been a long time since anyone spoken my name with warmth. Before I could speak, Nia stirred in her sleep, and Ayana went to her daughter's side. She brushed a strand of hair from the girl's face and whispered something in Apache. I watched her, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The next morning, danger returned. 3 riders came through the valley, rough men with scarred faces and whiskey-soaked grins. The same type Nia had feared. Ayana saw them first. Her body stiffened like a panther ready to pounce. "They follow us," she whispered. I grabbed my rifle. "Go inside. Stay with Nia." The riders approached slowly, circling like wolves. One smirked. "Heard you got yourself an Apache girl, Cowboy. Maybe 2 now?" I didn't flinch. "You boys are on the wrong land." "No such thing as the wrong land," the leader said, grinning. "Only weak men who can't keep hold of what they've got." He stared at the cabin door. "Send the woman out." "No," I said. He laughed. "We'll take them both then. Apache girls fetch a good price." Ayana, watching from inside, met my eyes with fear and fury. The men reached for their guns. But I was faster. The crack of my rifle echoed across the valley. The leader's gun flew from his hand as he screamed. The other 2 hesitated. Ayana stepped outside, bow drawn, eyes burning like fire. "You will leave," she ordered. They rode off, cursing and bleeding, knowing they'd met more fight than they'd expected. When it was over, Ayana lowered her bow and looked at me with something new in her eyes. Respect. Gratitude. Something deeper. "You risked your life," she said quietly. "So did you," I replied. We stood there in the fading morning light, breathing hard, adrenaline still burning through us. Then she reached out slowly, hesitantly, and touched my cheek. "Why?" she whispered. "Why protect us?" I swallowed. "Because no one should be hunted. And because you didn't deserve to face them alone." Her hand lingered on my face, warm, soft, trembling. "I have not known a man like you," she said. "Not in my tribe. Not in the world." I didn't know what to say. So she stepped closer, close enough for me to feel her breath. "I want to stay," she said. "Not just tonight." I felt something shift in my chest. Something I hadn't felt since before the war, before the loss, before the whiskey and loneliness. "Ayanna," I began. She silenced me with a gentle touch to my lips. "I choose this," she whispered. "I choose you." Behind her, Nia watched with a small smile, like she had known all along. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Ayanna and Nia stayed. Ayanna cooked beside me, tended the garden, repaired my clothes with delicate hands and warrior skill. At night, she lay beside me under the blankets, her breath warm on my neck, her heartbeat steady against my chest. Nia became the little light of the cabin, running around the yard with my old hat bouncing on her head, laughing, helping with chores, learning English from me and teaching her Apache words in return. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Ayanna leaned her head on my shoulder. "You changed our lives," she said softly. "You changed mine," I answered. She smiled a slow, beautiful smile. "I thought the world had no place left for me," she said. "But the spirits guided me to you through my daughter." I kissed her forehead gently. "You found your way into my heart long before you knew it. And you," she whispered, "stole mine." Nia curled up beside us, resting against both of us like she belonged in the space between. And she did. We weren't Apache. We weren't white. We were something else. A family. People talk about destiny like it's written in the stars. But sometimes, destiny is written in the dirt tracks of a child running for her life. Sometimes it's written in the eyes of a mother who loved fiercely enough to chase her daughter across the wilderness. And sometimes, destiny is written in the heart of a cowboy who didn't know how broken he was until two strangers healed him simply by walking into his life. If you enjoyed this tale, stay close to Frontier Echoes. More stories from the untamed West ride this way, raw and real as the land itself. The trail is long, and the echoes of the past have much more to tell.